All right. Hey everyone. How are we all doing? I was supposed to have some music in the background, but I think I fucked something up. It's all good. We can fix that next time. All right, welcome to this first edition of the, AMA Sunday, I'm calling it. I don't know if I'm going to do this weekly or not. It kind of depends on the schedule. But Black Flag Shanties as background music. Already here with the fucking pirate music. I'll have to find like a playlist of copyright-free pirate music. Can you guys actually hear some music in the background? I don't think so, right? Any music? Okay. Um, nope. Oh, that's weird. I had it working before, but now it just craps out on me. Lovely. Oh well, shit happens, right? Do. All right, I'll have to look into that the next time. Hey, Polygon. How are you doing, man? Let me just get the list of questions up and running. And then we can just dive straight into it. Oh, thanks for the follow, man. Yeah, doing good. All right, let's dive into it. So we got the first question. By the way, these are all questions from our community. So we have like a Discord community where a ton of people already asked some questions. So I have something to start off with instead of just relying on the randomness of the internet. So the first question: at what age did you know you wanted to be an artist or define yourself as one? From Ben Black. That's a really interesting question because I started drawing pretty early on. Even when I was playing games, I used to draw like I think it was Revolt, the first thing that I remember from when I actually started playing a game and then started taking stills and started drawing over them. Basically, I would basically just pause the game and just draw the cars. And I think, what age was I then? God, I'm so bad with that. Maybe 10, 12, something like that. So I would say I definitely didn't think that I was going to be an artist back then. I was just doing it for fun. Um, so at what age did I want to be an artist? That must have been around like 16 or something. When I was in electromechanics. I was basically prepping myself to go work on cars full time. But I was always drawing in class. So at some point I was just like, let's just try and switch it up. Let's just try and follow this route. And I just switched it up completely to like a different school, which was pretty crazy. So I think back then something happened, like a shift happened, where I went from like a mechanical job um to yeah, just drawing. And then obviously later on I went to university and I still wanted to be a concept artist because that was kind of my thing that I was chasing back then. And then in the second year or in the first year of school, I discovered environment art. And then that's basically how I got stuck doing environment art. Yeah, there's one thing that I always knew though, and it was that I didn't want to do character art. For some reason, I could just never get behind it, and I was just like, nah, this doesn't interest me at all. Yeah. All right, next question from Derek. Yeah, thanks for all the random questions, by the way, Derek. So, first question: favorite fries, sandwich, or pizza? Oh God, he's in the chat as well. Favorite fries. I know that I'm Belgium, and this is sort of sacrilege to say, but I don't really like fries too much. I like them with a steak, but that's probably the only combination that I like them in. Yeah, it's pretty weird. Sandwich. I love to make um like a chicken mozzarella sandwich, which is probably my favorite, and I make that I think at least twice a week or something like that. It's like an addiction that I have. Pizza, anything with cheese, man. Give me anything with cheese, and I'm on it. Yeah, he's really asking the important questions. Oh, do I add pineapple on top of it? I mean, I'm not against it, but I also don't really like it. I've also had some really interesting pizzas in Italy with like mango and all that stuff on it. So I'm not avert to trying something new. I think there could be something interested in that. Oh God, my first stream is about to turn real controversial. Okay, next, a movie you would recommend. I don't really watch that many movies. Um, what's the not Coco. Um, oh yeah, Pacific Rim. Pacific Rim is probably one of my all-time favorite movies for some reason. I just like how weighty the the robots are, how well established the world is, even for like the little exposure you get to the world itself. But yeah, unfortunately, they completely fucked it up with the second one. So yeah. Favorite games during the year. These are all questions from Derek, by the way. Um, I really like Ghost of Tsushima. Yeah, there was something about that game where it was so focused on just telling everything with the environment. It was so good. It was so well balanced. It was really leaning into like all the art fundamentals, and it was not concerned about, well, the more typical open world structure of like fulfilling check marks. Basically, it was not afraid to just let you explore the world by yourself. Oh hey, Mr. Faye. Um, Another favorite game. Um, I played. Well, it was me and my girlfriend. We played Inside together. That was a really interesting game as well. I know that it's not from this year, but it was still an amazing game. Just because again, it's so art focused, it's so art driven. It's really nice. And yeah, maybe, well, there's still some room in the year, right? Maybe Cyberpunk can be on this list as well. I'm looking forward to that one. Where are our Discord emotes? Well, yeah, I knew that this was coming, right? We should have a contest or something like that. Just have people create like silly emotes for the Discord channel. That would be interesting. But yeah, if you got some good ideas, just send them over and we can add them. If you would be a dog, which dog would it be? Um, I don't know. Well, I'm really tall, so I want to go for like a tall dog, but I would probably see myself more like as a chunky corgi or something like that. All right, let's dive into something more serious now. This is a question from Sebastian Brecht. Um, no, it's Sebastian Brecht. Why do I keep writing Brecht? Sorry, man. Um, no, it's all good, Derek. I like these. I like these off-topic questions. That's basically what I asked for, right? You don't have to cry. So, how to gain speed when creating a full environment? Well, this is obviously like a really broad question, right? There's lots of ways that you can improve your workflow. The first thing that really makes a difference is just um, try and not to do everything unique. That's the first big thing. Try and see where you can reuse stuff, where you can have one texture where you could, like a titleable texture or like a trim sheet texture or something like that, where you can use it in multiple places. So this could be like, say you have like a wooden building. You don't have to sculpt every individual plank. You could just make a sheet with just some planks and some wooden beams on it, and then you could just model wooden planks and wooden beams as you need them and just reuse that same texture sheet. Um, Second is just focus. A lot of people, they tend to over focus when they create like a full environment, because a full environment can also be like a small diorama. It could still tell the story and all that stuff that you want to tell, but it doesn't have to be like a full mountainscape or anything like that. How to gain speed? It's also just experience over time. I think in the beginning, when you're just starting out in environment art, there's a lot of technical hurdles that you have to go through, and you just need to get used to like doing this stuff over and over multiple times, and that's where the biggest speed differential is going to come in. Yeah, I hope that answers the question a little bit. Next up, we got a question from Lloyd. What is your favorite tool or bit of software for being creative? I mean, these days, I know that I'm gonna sound like part of the cult, but it's definitely Blender. Blender is such a great piece of software. It's been a while since I really felt um, really creative on like a piece of software, and Blender just allows me to stay within like one software, because I used to go between Maya and then ZBrush, but now I can just sculpt stuff in Blender, so I can just switch over to a different tab. I can start sculpting, and that's it. It's so amazing. And it has a good viewport as well, which other 3D software just don't really have, or not out of the box. And that makes a huge difference. Um, oh, we got a serious question from Derek. That's a surprise. What did you aspire to be during the years and strive to become now? Well, I already talked about me trying to become like a concept artist, but that just didn't work out, right? That's one thing. Where do I see myself going in the future? I think it's still environment art. It's something that I'm really passionate about. But yeah, into the future, I just want to focus on the stuff that I want to create. I don't know what that means just yet and how I'm going to get there. But I mean, this stream and Beyond Extend community and the Patreon, all that stuff is sort of the first step into becoming more um, self sufficient and self reliant. So, where I can actually get some, like an additional route of income, like an additional income source, and then hopefully create some more personal art because of that. But yeah, I just love environments too much, so I'm gonna stick with environment art. Who knows? Maybe that might change. I also want to dip my toes into the environment art, but more the film or movie side of things. So we'll see. We'll see where that goes. Let me just take a sip of water here. All right. How do you organize folder structures for private/studio projects? This is from Sebastian as well. Well, obviously, studio projects are sort of NDA, so I can't really talk about that. And the folder structure for private use, I do have a NAS drive where I basically store all my files so that they're properly backed up. But as for organizing the folder structure, that's still something that I'll have to work on, because I have like an asset library that I'm currently in the process of building up, where I can, instead of building everything from scratch every time, I can start sourcing from my own library that I'm building up. But yeah, I'm nowhere near done yet. But yeah, well, maybe I can share that stuff in the future and just give you like an overview once I cleaned it all up. Next question from Derek again. Do you have a figurine on your desk or something to make it stand out? I got literally nothing on my desk. I have my NAS, I have my Stream Deck, I have some lights, and that's it. Like not even. Yeah, I don't have anything. Like, I used to have some stuff on my desk. Well, we're talking about like my personal desk, right? I do have some stuff on my studio desk though. There is like a Frontier, like a mug at Frontier that I got from my friends when I left Frontier, and it's like a picture from the Frontier Expo where we all went together, and it was the first Frontier Expo, and we had a picture with Gulpy, one of the mascots from Planet Coaster. I do have some other trinkets though. I have like a little, I don't know what's it called, like a little see-through ghost kind of thing with like a little dice in it, and that's something that I got from. Well, now she's the lead artist, if I'm not mistaken, Fern Hilborn at Frontier Development, and she was handing them out to the entire team, and I still hold on to that. What else is on my desk at work? It's been a while. I have a lot of art books though. I think I have like a stack of 6 art books, and then I also have all the ones behind here. So I think that's the stuff that I hold on to just on my desk. Yeah, anything else? Well, obviously all the Ubisoft swag that I have at work. But yeah. Other than that, I don't think so. I think that's it. All right. Another question, well, another couple of questions by Derek, and these are on the subject of giving and gaining feedback. So the first question is, how do you approach giving and gaining feedback? I'll start with gaining feedback first, because that's a pretty short one for me. I tend not to ask for feedback. And it might actually hurt my art, but I've always done it like this, where I'm just really self-sufficient, and if it comes out, yeah, like if I just trust my intuition when it comes to that, and maybe I don't get to a stage where I want to be at some point with a project, but even then, yeah, there's something stopping me from just reaching out to people and asking for feedback. Yeah, I wonder. Maybe I need to start doing that. Just ask for more feedback on my pieces instead of just posting it and then forgetting about it. How do I approach giving feedback? Now that's a really deep question, right? Because there's so many facets to giving feedback. I think it's really important to at least get to know the person a little bit more. Because if you just fire away your feedback at someone who's just like on the Discord server and you don't know them, it's always better to go on the safe side and be as constructive as possible. But there's some people that you get to know that might not benefit from just having purely constructive feedback. Um, oh, these are actually. Let me just read through these questions because I think they're all tied together somewhat. Um, so yeah, we talked about giving constructive feedback, right? I think that's a point that always stands. That's like the generic approach, and that always works for 90% of the people. But there's some people that you just need to get to know, and then you have to basically be a little bit more forceful with them and be a little bit more direct, so that it really kicks them into action and that it makes them realize that they need to switch it up. Um, yeah, yeah, I agree. So feedback is always the best from friends as they dare to destroy it. Yeah, I can completely agree. If you want some honest feedback, that's the way to do it. Especially from your artist friends, right? Because your family is not gonna give you any help when it comes to that. They're just gonna say like, "Oh, that's nice." Yeah, that's a really good point. Okay, so if you give feedback, what works best for you to get your opinion across? And you mentioned the sandwich approach, right? That is definitely an approach that works, especially with people that might not know how it works themselves. Because if you know that approach and someone's trying to feed you that sandwich, you might not wanna taste it, right? Because you know what they're doing. They give you like a pat on the back first, then give you like their honest opinion, and then another pat, and it's just like, oh, can we just get rid of like the bread? I just want the the substance in the middle. So yeah, but I still use it though, because you have to be careful, right? You don't want to damage like a person really working hard on their environment art in this case, and then just completely turn them off from the project that they're working on. That's not going to help them at all. If you get feedback, how do you get the most information as possible? Wait, are we back on the? Oh yeah, 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 exactly. Well, yeah, I would still eat that just as chicken in the mozzarella. Come on. Oh, you can wrap it, or you can stuff the chicken with the mozzarella. That's good, man. Come on. What are you talking about? But anyway, if you get feedback, how do you get the most information as possible? Well, this is kind of a tricky one for me, right? Because I don't really tend to ask it. But my thing that I would say for people asking for feedback is, don't just ask like, "Oh, can I get some feedback on this?" But ask direct feedback where you can be like, "This I'm working on this scene, but something feels off about the textures. Can someone help me?" So that could definitely help out when you ask direct questions like that, because then at least you're guiding the focus of the people giving you feedback. Because if you're just gonna ask a question like, "Oh, can I get random comments and critiques on this piece?" It might be so broad the spectrum that you're gonna get feedback on that it might overwhelm you. How do you burst someone's bubble? This is an interesting question. Do you use a sandwich technique? Yeah, I do, right? We mentioned that before, but it's still not enough to burst the bubble in some cases. And that's what I'm currently thinking about, like how you approach those people that uh, are not really receptive, like even if you use a sandwich method. And I still haven't found like a good way to do that. And I think this comes to the first step is definitely getting to know the person in this case. Um, but yeah, some people are just so set in their ways that they ask for feedback or they ask for comments, but truly they don't really care and they just want someone to look at it and appreciate what they're doing. And that's fine. But that also means that that person might not be ready to grow. Um, yeah. All right. What's being said? I feel like it's mostly the other way around. Friends and family are more biased and tend to swallow a lot of things that they mean to say. Yeah. Friends group. Yeah, I think it does depend on the friends group. Um, but yeah, a channel like that where you basically call it "kill my work" is definitely gonna have some weight to it. um, talking about sandwiches, what's your favorite cheese? Yeah, back on the sandwich topic. Yeah, mozzarella. I I'm addicted to it, and sometimes I even get to a point where I'm like, okay, I need to stop eating for a week and then just have like a mozzarella detox week. um, yeah, thanks for all these questions, Derek. They're really nice. I think there's a lot that we can talk about feedback, and there's some stuff that I'm still trying to figure out myself too. So yeah, man, really appreciate the questions. So next question from Luis Mesquita. He asks, "What's your favorite German beer?" Favorite German beer? I'm from Belgium, so I'm elitist when it comes to beer. I would say none. If we want to try and make it into like a really controversial stream, this is where it happens probably. Um, I don't know. I don't really pay attention to the brands anymore when it comes to German beer. A lot of it just tastes the same to me. Um, yeah, maybe it's because I don't know. I don't want to say I have higher standards, but the the choice in Belgium is definitely more varied than I'm used to here. I'm sorry, Tim. Maybe you can make me some good beer. Start brewing yourself and convince me otherwise. Um, okay, next question from Ben Black. How many licks to the center of a Tootsie Pop? What even is a Tootsie Pop? I don't even know what that is. Is that just like a? Let me have a look. Tootsie Pop. Oh, okay. I mean, how many? This has been ages since I had one of these. I would say 3,000. Let's go. Do you ever let go of Eggo waffles? Oh God, is this turning into like a food stream all of a sudden? What are Eggo waffles? What is this? Oh, oh no, prepackaged waffles? Come on, I'm from Belgium. I don't want to talk about these disgraceful waffles. And what's the meaning of life? Good question. I don't know. Just have fun. Create art. Do it. Next question from Kevin B. Morning or evening showers? I take an evening shower. I usually do it when I'm ready from work, and I basically use it as like my evening ritual to just like completely reset and then just get back into personal work. So that's why I do it in the evening. Oh, we got another serious question coming here. So we got another one from Ben Black, and he asked, "Do you ever deal with jealousy, ego, and your shadow? How do you maintain a positive attitude in life?" Um, yeah, there's definitely moments when I deal with jealousy. Especially when I look at ArtStation and there's like this moment where I'm just like jealous of, oh shit, they're doing such a good job at creating this environment, and I'm not at that level yet, or it's just, yeah, there's so many things that I can compare myself with, right? But it's always just like the first 15 minutes or something when it's really something that is like mind blowing. But after those 15 minutes, I'm just like, I just realized that they're on their own path and they make like their separate work, and it's not detached. It's not attached at my work at any point, and I just move on with my work basically. Yeah, it's a tricky question because I think a lot of people just struggle with that, where they're like they get down and then they get dragged down for like a couple of days because they're like, oh shit, like they're making such quality pieces of art, and here I am just working on a block out the entire day and it's not looking good. But it doesn't matter. Everyone has their own way of thinking, their own way of doing stuff, and you're on a path, and they might have been on that same moment in their own path at a certain point. But you just have to let go. Create your own art. Focus on your own track, and don't let all that stuff distract you. Um, did you ever deal with ego? Let's have a think. I definitely got better at it. I wouldn't say that I've got um like ego. I don't know. It's a good question because I don't think my work is good. Well, I think my work is good, but it's definitely not the best if you compare it to other people in the industry. But again, that leads back to my other point where that doesn't really matter. I'm just doing my own thing, and I'm just yeah, just having fun with it. There were definitely moments where ego came in at my previous place where I worked at Frontier Developments, where I just had these moments of like, oh, why is this person a senior when I'm a junior coming into the industry and I already think that I can do everything better than that person? And it's just false. Like they made senior for a reason. There's obviously people that are a senior and maybe don't deserve it in your opinion, but it's kind of tricky when you try to compare yourself to that because you don't know what they can do. You don't know what they did like all those years before. You don't have the full story. So I think if we're talking about ego, that might be the closest thing that I would say, because it's just yeah, thinking that I was better than other people and then just realizing that I was totally not. I think really I think also really helped me just put everything in perspective too. Your shadow. Do you ever deal with your shadow? I don't know. I don't really like to linger in the past. I try to do my best to live in the present and look towards the future, and do my best to yeah, not affect anyone in like a negative way, and not do something that I regret later. So that's something that I'm conscious of, which is also why I tend to think about the things that I say, and I yeah, just is thinking about the things that you say, and just thinking about the impact that those words might have. I give you like a simple example where a lot of people say that they don't have time, but I now say that I don't make time, because every person has the same amount of time in a day. It's just you choose not to spend that time on that, or you don't have the option to, right? There's some people that just don't have the option to spend that time, but we all have the same time in a day. So yeah, this leads me into like maintaining a positive attitude in life. It's just I don't know, be happy with the small things. I tend to be really conservative with everything that I do, especially when it comes to money and just spending a lot of stuff. So I don't know. I take pleasure in the small things. Like even just walking outside in the rain this week is like a stupid example, but I had a hoodie on and I just took it off because I was just enjoying the rain and being outside. Sounds silly, but yeah, it's the small things to me that really make a big difference. All right. Let's have a look. So next question from Lloyd. Oh, Raj is Rule 32. Enjoy the little things. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Weren't they talking about Twinkies though? It was something with Twinkies, right? From one of the couple of movies that I've seen in my life. Okay. Next question from Lloyd. Do you have any concerns about your future as an environment artist? Like, for instance, the technology becoming or changing the job too much, the instability of the industry, or artist boredom? Um, no, not really. It's another thing that if that point comes, then I'll deal with that. I'm not concerned about technology gonna like immediately changing the pipelines for the entire industry because the especially the bigger companies in the industry, they take a lot of time to pivot and to change their momentum. Um, Technology changing the job too much. Yeah, I'm not really worried about that. There's like all these talks of AI and artificial intelligence and procedural things replacing the artist. I think the point of all those things is just gonna be that the job that we have as environment artists is just gonna be easier. So you can focus on the things that you want to focus on instead of doing like the tedious things like, for example, UVs, set dressing a location, but just the generic set dressing. You could have that done by AI and then really focus on the environmental storytelling with what you add personally to that scene. So I'm not too worried about changing the job. And if it does, I'll pivot. I'm comfortable with my skill set and the ability to just change. The instability of the industry. Yeah, we hear all these big stories from America now, right? Especially with the COVID crisis going on. Um, I think Europe is really good at dealing with that instability of the industry in general. I'm really fortunate that I don't have to go through like I've never had to go through anything like being fired from the games industry. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's also because there's fundamental differences in the way that they work in the US compared to Europe, right? And just worker protection rights. There's a lot of factors that come into it. So me personally, I'm not worried about the state of the industry because I'm in Europe. Like I'm on the safe side of things. I'm at Ubisoft as well, so I think I'm good. So I don't have to worry about anything. Obviously, I do feel sad about like all the people that get fired and then have to just well they get fired and then they hear about getting fired on Twitter, right? So I mean that's just not good. That's probably the worst way to know that you're fired. Um, but yeah, that's also why I'm a big advocate of having multiple revenue streams as well. It's just having something else than just your main job and only that. Having like invested all your life's work into that, I don't think it's a good option. Especially you look into the future where you have all these options like Patreon, Gumroad, the Unreal Engine Marketplace. You can basically sell anything that you make, and it doesn't have to turn into a huge profit, right? But everything you make from that is gonna add. You can save up. You can buy yourself a nice treat. You can go to a restaurant. Like you would be surprised how big of an impact that's gonna have on your life. So I would definitely recommend that if you wanna detach yourself from the instability of the industry. Just take a quick sip of water, and then we'll dive into like artist boredom, and then we'll also answer the question in the chat. Let me just add that to the list. So, how do you deal with slumps? All right, cool. We're nearly at the end though, so if you want to ask anything in the chat, Just feel free to type away, and then we'll get to it. I promise. I'm here for a while though. Not going anywhere. All right, let's go back to the question though. How do you deal with artist boredom? I I don't. I'm never bored, to be honest. Like, yeah. I always have this thing where I want to do so much stuff in my day, and I'm doing so many things at the same time that I'm just never bored, to be honest. I've I have these moments now where I mentioned this before in a podcast that we do as well, but I have these moments where I'm taking like 15 minutes of the day or like half an hour of the day at the end of the day to just chill and just do nothing, because that's literally the only time that I have that stuff. Like, I have the time to just think about stuff and let myself be bored, if that makes sense. So I don't really see that being an issue on my end. Um, I don't know if that answers the question, because it's more your concern about the future of environment art and how that relates to artist boredom. I don't know. I think the state of the industry, and like especially the empowerment of artists these days, is just super exciting. And there's just so many options, like we mentioned before: Patreon, Gumroad. You can literally build yourself like a thing to monetize the stuff that you really want to do. So it's crazy. I love it. I'm excited for the future. Okay, now we get to the last question. By Raj, and this might be the most important question. Why have you not seen Coco yet? I don't know. Good question. Maybe it's because I don't really care about it. If I'm gonna be honest, like, it's not on my radar. It's not something that I care about. I'm sorry. Sorry to hurt your feelings, Raj. Um, all right, next. So let's go through the chat, right? So we got a question from Milan, and he asked, "How do you deal with slumps?" Um, I don't know. I just listen to myself. Like, if I'm I'm sorry, Raj. Please forgive me. Yeah. So how do you deal with slumps? I think with slumps, are we talking about like artist block, or just having like a moment where you need rest? Because there's a big difference between them, right? Um, I think it's been a long while since I had an artist slump. Because I'm just doing so much stuff at the moment. Like, I'm doing Beyond Extend. I'm doing like articles. Um, I'm experimenting with automation when it comes to Beyond Extend 2. I'm working on my personal work. I'm helping people out constantly with mentorships. I don't think I ever have a slump, because my day is so varied. And then if I did everything that I set out to do, and then I get to work on personal work, it feels like a treat. Like, it feels like a reward. And yeah, I I think a big part of that is just because I started as a student just doing like everyday work, where it started with a half an hour, right? But then you're working on something cool, turns into an hour, and then you start working these sections of time like on a daily basis. And the only time that I stop doing those is when I'm on vacation. And I don't think there's any other moment when I've ever took, or like ever taken like a day off, I think. Because I'm always doing something. even if it's just like preparing for the next thing that I'm doing, like looking up references, or like I said before, like experimenting with some automation for like social media posting or whatever. It can be anything. I yeah. I've always thought that if you're in a slump, it might just be nice to just listen to your body and what it's trying to tell you, and just take some time off, do something that you really want to do and that excites you. Because life's too short, man. Come on. All right. Oh, do we need like a rip emote for Raj now? Um. All right. The next one is from Rasmus Bagner. What do you think about going from studio to studio compared to staying at the same studio for many years? Pros and cons. Are there any stigmas to them? Um. Yeah, this is like a heavily debated topic, right? Because some people tend to, well, it's seen as stagnate in staying at the same company, because once you move to a company, you have like a bigger bargaining chip of being like, look, I come from this company, this is what I can bring to the table, ask for like a bigger salary increase as well. Then instead of waiting around um, to the next salary increases where you might be unsure of. I think that's the biggest attraction point to that. Um, what do you think about going from studio to studio? Yeah, I know people on both sides of the spectrum. It depends on how happy you are and how fulfilled, right? Because there's some people that are still in the same studio, like they were when entering the industry, but they're totally happy. Like they like the studio, they like how much they're getting paid, they like how the environment around it in the studio is, and also outside of the studio, like the place to live. Um, yeah, pros and cons. Let's have a think. Well, the big pro of moving from studio to studio is obviously that you can ask for big increases when it comes to wage. Um, it also depends on where you're gonna move and what the cost of living is as well, right? Because you have to keep that in mind. If you don't do that, then you might be shooting yourself in the foot when you think that you're actually getting a good deal, and you don't want to go through that. Being all happy to move countries and move to like a new exciting place, and then basically finding out that you rip yourself off, so to speak. Studio to studio, yeah. Cons. I don't think there are any cons. There might be a con when it comes to just waiting for the game to ship, because a lot of studios are looking for game releases, right? Like if you look for applications, they might ask for like 3 AAA game releases that you've been a part of. So they want to see that you're part of the full cycle, because say you enter a project in pre-production or like at the beginning of production, and then like in the middle of production you quit again. You haven't been through like a full cycle. So it might be better to wait until the end of that cycle, get that title fully under your name, get familiar with the full experience of the beginnings, middles, and the ends, and then actually ship in the game, because that's definitely going to add a lot of experience under your belt. And that's why applications are looking for that kind of stuff, where they mention like, oh, three AAA releases. That's literally why they just want to um, have you on with the experience of going through like a full pipeline. Um, are there any stigmas to it? I don't think so. I don't think a healthy company will never hold a grudge against you if you move, because they were just happy to have you there and have your experience on the project, right? It it hurts them as much as it hurts you, because the the industry is still pretty small. Like it's giant when it comes to the numbers, but people are so connected in the industry that, say company X is really not happy with you leaving. And then, I don't know, for whatever reason, they are really really mad at the end, and they throw some weird sentences at you. This is just like a weird example, right? But then what is the end result of that? You're just gonna go to all your friends and be like, oh man, like I just left this company, but they were being dicks about it. Like, that's not gonna reflect good at the company as well. And they're still looking for someone else to join their ranks. So if that word spreads, it can hurt the company as much as it might hurt you. Any other stigmas? It's a really good question though. Thanks for this one. Let's have a think. This is probably a big thing when it comes to that. Try to be honest and try to be as open as possible without giving away all your cards. Like, say you've been thinking about going to another company. You don't want to just go out to your lead and say like, "Oh, I'm thinking about moving companies." Just from the first get-go. You need to have some sort of plan into place, and then at some point talk to your lead and be like, "Look, I've been thinking about this for a long time. I know that it's sure because of this or this, and I'm thinking about leaving the company." And yeah, I think that just shows like a sign of respect to everyone, especially your lead, right? Because they kind of need to do the planning to get probably someone new on the project, and they need to start thinking about that. But if you're just open and honest about this at appropriate times, that's gonna help you with just keeping in contact with them as well. I'm still in contact with some of my leads at my previous job. Like every once in a while, I just message him. Um, oh, is this in response to the stuff that we just talked about, Erasmus? Oh, okay, cool, awesome. Um, Kevin, were there any anonymous questions? That is a good question. Let me just quickly look it up. Because I checked it in the meanwhile, and no one was really making use of it. But let's have a look, right? There might be some stuff in there now. Do do do. Take a sip of water in the meantime. Oh, there is a question. Yeah, let's do this one first. So the question is, this is from Anonymous, by the way. When you see a good artwork on ArtStation, do you care about how long it took the artist to create it? And so, do you even think it's worth to mention it? um, yeah, maybe you should have, Derek. Yeah, this is a really good question. And I think that the time to create it doesn't matter at all. Like, I don't really care about how long you made it. I'm just looking at the art piece, and if it wows me, I don't care if you spent like 2 minutes on it or 2 years. Like, I don't care. There's obviously like a step in the process, like if you're trying to apply for a games company, that there needs to be some speed behind it as well. So that's definitely a part of it. But if I'm putting forward candidates, so to say, where I really think that, damn, this is a good artist, I want to work with them, it's purely focused on just the looks, the visuals, the artistic insight, the thought behind it, the composition, the color usage. That's what I'm focusing on. So I don't really care about the time. And this is a slight tangent, but I also don't really care about the age that you are, too. There's no, I don't care about yeah, any of that. Like, if you're 45 and you're still fucking trying to move industries and you're creating kick-ass work, that doesn't detract from anything at all. The work is still kick-ass. Yeah, that's a really good question though, because I see a lot of people, or like some people, mention it on their art station. But if you get to that point in the process where you get an artist, that's where it becomes important for some of them, because some of them really focus on like we want to track your hours so that we can get like an accurate estimate of how this would be applicable in the environment art, in the studio environment itself, right? Because they want to see that you don't take like 2 years to create one thing. There needs to be some sort of speed about it, but that doesn't mean that you can't improve on that. That's a really good question. I appreciate that, man. Okay. Oh, hey Ben. Yeah, I think we went through all the questions from all the community members already. So I'm sorry you missed that. But this is also gonna be recorded, and I'll put it up on the Patreon as well, so you can listen back to it. I suppose you can also do that on Twitch, right? But I'm a noob, so I don't know all that stuff yet. So, Samot the Tank Engine. Hey, first time here. Apparently, questions about food answered here. How are you all doing? Yeah, I'm doing good. Yeah, we had a lot of questions about food. I mean, I can talk about food. I fucking love food. Next question by Tootless Ted. What magazines, blogs, YouTube channels, podcasts do you really listen or read frequently? Oh man, there's a list of podcasts. Let me think about a couple of ones. I don't really listen to that many industry podcasts apart from the Creative Collective, like the Collective podcast. I mean, by Ash Thorpe, because it's not really related to environment art or game art. It's more about just artists in general, and it could be artists that just love to drive cars really fast. That's like an art form by itself, and do like all this crazy shit with driving up like snaky paths and drifting their way along. So it's super interesting to have like inspirations from like different points of view. um Magazines. It's been a long while since I read any magazines. Probably the latest one was probably Vertex or something like that. I used to buy like a lot of magazines, like 3D Artist, and I've also did some stuff for them. Like I'm in 2 features, but to be honest, I don't buy them anymore. Um, Same. I don't really follow that many blogs, but in the community we do have a blog channel, and when someone posts in there, um, yeah, I'll definitely read it and I'll follow up because it's interesting to see how they're progressing in their time. Any online magazines? No, no, none at all. No, I can't really think about anything. No, I'm not subscribed to any magazines. I don't buy any magazines online. Nothing like that. Um, YouTube channels. There's a lot of really good ones. I'll have to dig some of them up. Um, there's definitely Andrew Price. He started doing podcasts recently, which are pretty interesting, and they're really good if you want to grow as an artist. He also did them in talk form. Is that if that is more your style of thing? So they're definitely worth listening to, or while watching if you're doing it on YouTube. Um, let's have a look. I listen to the Joe Rogan podcast, but like everyone does that these days, so that that's probably not a big surprise there. I just have them on in the background, and most of the time I might not even be paying attention to them. I'm just I just want to have something in the background, basically. Let's have a look. Oh yeah, Tyler Edlin is a really good one for um, if you're interested in just like general art talks. That one is pretty interesting. I'll post it in the chat as well. So that's one of them. And then Adam Duff is also a really good one that I can recommend. There's some like design talks from like the future that I'm into too, but it's not that much, to be honest. Not that much. What else? Podcasts. Yeah, I think we talked about all of them. Most of the time when I'm trying to focus on just my art stuff, I just have some music in the background. Um, oh yeah, that would be a good one to include in this one, Ben. Um, yeah, I do have some books here. I do have a lot of books here. Probably my favorite one. Let's have a think. It's probably this one, right? Deus Ex is so good. Just the universe that they made in that one. Titanfall is probably also one of my favorite art books that I have. Um, yeah, I just love art books. I need to get some more. All right. Let's have a look at the next question. The next one is from Erasmus as well. How would you go about talking with your lead to become a senior, and what to say and what not to say? Oh yeah, those books are so good, Maha. They're so nice. I need to get some more. I was thinking about. Sorry for the interruption, Erasmus, but I was thinking about getting the Ghost of Tsushima one because that one looks really awesome. And I'm also keeping my eye out, well, roughly for the Cyberpunk one, but we'll see. We'll see about that. Oh, the Spyro art book. I haven't played that game yet. Looks awesome though. Okay, let's dive into this question then. So, how would you go about talking with your lead to become a senior, and what to say and what not to say? Um, yeah, this is a very good question because you want to convince them that you're ready for the job, right? So you have to be prepared with examples because if you only talk but you're not walking the walk, then you're not going to get anywhere. A lot of studios they do have this thing where if they think you're ready for a senior, they're gonna let you do like a senior job for a while, so that you can like transition into it, and then give you the title afterwards. Um, let's see, let's think. So what I basically brought up is that as well. Like I was already, um, I don't know how much I should say about this, but I would definitely go prepared, go into that meeting and say like, look, I've been doing these and these specifics already that according to the guidelines for the company fall under senior. So I think that is one thing that I can add. And then just you also, I think for a lot of studios, it's also important to just show that you're in it completely, that you're in it from start to finish, and that this is not just a thing where you just want to quickly climb the ladder to increase your bargaining chips for the next position that you want to go to. I don't know if that's accurate, but sometimes it can feel like that. Um, yeah, it's all about selling yourself, right? So you basically need to have a look at what you're doing, and just try to bring out all the positives, focus on the positives, like keep working at them, and be really open and honest about them once you have that talk. I think that's probably the best thing I can say. without going into too much specifics, right? Because it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one, but definitely go in prepared. Yeah, I'm wondering if I can add something to that. Yeah, I'll need to give it a think, and maybe in one of the next sessions, then I can bring some additional stuff up. Good question though. I love it. And I think this is in addition to this question, when would you start asking to change from a junior to mid? That's a good question as well. And this is highly dependent on the studio. There are some studios that have predefined tracks that you can follow on like a Confluence page or something like that, where they give like an estimate of how they see you grow in the company. But there's also studios that are a bit more flexible with that, and they might give you the opportunity quicker than you think. I think if you're comfortable with creating art and doing the job that you're doing right now, and you don't have to rely too much on the people inside of your team to create the end result within given reason, right? That is a good moment to start asking for like a mid position, because the difference between a junior and a mid is mostly in responsibilities and like dependability on other parts of the team. So if you're really focused on self-sufficiency and just being independent from other people of the team as much as possible, there's still going to be stuff that you have to talk about with your lead and seniors or whatever. But yeah, the more independent you can be, the better, especially when you're going to have that talk. But I would definitely say if you're comfortable with the pipeline and you start taking on some extra responsibilities on top of that, like I don't know, it could be anything, right? Like ownership of smaller things, which is I don't think is going to be that common in junior. But say they give you like an opportunity to prove yourself and you just smash it out of the park. That's like another bargaining chip that you can just bring to the table and be like, look, I did this like a month back and everyone was super happy with it and it changed this. That's a good time to start talking about it. Online mags. Just going through the chat at the moment. The Jedi Fallen Order one. Yeah, that one looked awesome. That game was also really nice, by the way. The art in that was amazing. All right, I think that was it actually from the questions. Oh, still hurt. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry to disappoint. But it's the truth. Like, I'm sorry that I didn't give you like the sandwich technique, but I just couldn't. I just couldn't. Doesn't art books just collect dust on a shelf and it becomes an addiction? I mean, mine are pretty dusty, to be honest. If we're gonna talk about that, it's been a while since I looked in some of them, but I'm still talking about like getting more of them. Oh, if we're talking about, this is probably how it started though. Just like Guild Wars 2 art book. I think that's probably where my addiction started, with just like art books in general. Oh yeah. So if anyone else has some questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. Oh man, I'm sorry about sugarcoating it. I'll do a better job next time, Raj. I promise. Yeah, we did. We looked at one when we were, I think it was working on your scene, right? Like the first time. We were just looking through the art book. Are all the books back there art books? Um, most of them. I do have some other books as well. This is probably the one that I most frequently, like most recently read, and this is awesome. I think if you're looking into optimizing your workflow and just how you can make the most out of your day and work and like monetize it in a way, this is a recommendation from Tim Ferriss. Oh, hey, Lloyd. Bye, Lloyd. Join to say bye. Color and Light. Yeah, I do have that book. Oh, but I think it's at work. I was reading that at work before COVID hit. Um, yeah, we're sort of at the end. Do you photograph your own reference or just Google? That's a good question. I mean, Lloyd, before we dive into that question, you can still ask some questions if you want. Just drop them in the chat. Do you photograph your own reference or just Google? I go crazy when we're on vacation, just photographing like every interesting thing. I think I take on average. It depends from day to day, right? Like I take my camera everywhere on vacation. I think I might average like 500 to 1,000 pictures a day or something like that. It's yeah. I don't think I can detach. Maybe that's an issue. I'm always just gathering stuff. And then if we're totally honest about it, I barely use them anyway. So yeah, for specific ref, I do dig into some files. Like say I'm working on some medieval walls right now. I went through the pictures that I took from castles in Italy, and there was some really good stuff in there where I had like really nice close up pictures of just like random walls. And yeah, I've been using that as reference, as my main reference for those. So that was really useful. Yeah, other than that, Google. Yeah. Or if you want to find like really obscure references, especially when working on props, this is something that Hannah Watts brought up in an article on her site as well. I do the same thing. It's just looking at eBay or like some other sites where they have like resellers, or they sell like vintage furniture or whatever. You can get some really good pictures. Um, you can really good some really good pictures from there. So that would be a good recommendation too. Um, Pineapple versus apples. Can't think of anything serious. um, I mean, yeah, apples for sure. Just because they're so widely available compared to pineapples, right? I mean, you can get pineapples, but then you're not really sure if it's a good one. It's always hit or miss with fucking pineapples. Maybe I should do like a Saturday food stream or something where we can just talk about food the entire time. Apples on a pizza? No. Get out. By the way, hi Martin. Favorite Patreon supporter. Okay. Okay, we want to get divisive about this, right? I think it might be Marta. I think it might be Marta because we have such a long history. And yeah, I think that's it. Just a good history there. We worked well, that's basically how the mentorship started as well. It was just like I kind of want to do this. Oh, come on, Raj. You couldn't possibly think that I was going to pick you. Come on. All the shit that you give me constantly. Just voting yourself up. Hey, I made this a mature stream for a reason, right? So I can swear now. I'd rather have apples on pizza than pineapple. I don't think I've ever had apples on a pizza. Maybe I should just try it. Oh, Lloyd coming in with a good question. How much do you use reference for games you take pictures of? Thinking you took a lot of screenshots of AC, do you use them much? Well, I'm using them right now. They're in the background. um, I do use them sometimes for inspiration though. When I'm looking at how they tackle blending or like more the technical aspects about it, where you can clearly see in Assassin's Creed that they use tileable for all the bigger rock chunks, but then they use different tileable for some of the damaged chunks, and but sometimes they don't depending on how big that is, because they just want to save on the amount of texture that they're pulling in, right? Or like the draw calls. So yeah, it's stuff like that that interests me, even though it's not directly applicable to my scenes. Because if we're just comparing these massive open world games to scenes that you would create yourself, there's definitely going to be more detail in the scenes that you create, because open world games just have to be thinking about optimization and like keeping it running at a certain frame rate the entire time. So there's definitely like a big difference between them. Um, use references from games. Yeah, it's just interesting to see how they do their textures as well, and compositions of scenes. That's probably what interests me the most, like how they lead the player through these massive open world environments where you can basically come at a certain angle from like 360 degrees. So how does the player leading work in that sense, where you have this nice temple at the river's edge, for example, but you can approach it from the river, you can approach it from the road, approach it from the mountains. It's always interesting to see how they try to reinforce that composition with like trees leading into it, like a road going towards it. And yeah, there's so many interesting tricks. It would be interesting to dive into that as well. Do you prefer arting linear or open world games? From Martin. Um I don't know. I've never worked on like a purely linear game before. So yeah, because the thing that I worked on before was Jurassic World Evolution, Planet Coaster, and Planet Zoo, and they were basically when it comes to Planet Zoo and Planet Coaster, they were more like asset packages if you want to dumb it down a little bit. So we would just create like all the assets, and then we would give them to the players, and they would build the entire scenes, where we didn't have any control about the composition in the scene or anything like that. So that was pretty interesting to work on. And then for Jurassic World, I was mostly working on the buildings, so that was like super separate. I was working on all the power stations and how they would be destroyed, and creating the modules for that. Um, that definitely has its perks though, because it's super separate. So it's way easier to just um, come into work 8 hours a day on something totally separate. Like no one else has to work in the same space. Like for example, in like an open world game, there's a lot of asking if they're working on this tile, because you need to work on that tile. Um, but I'm a bigger fan of open world games. I've always been a big fan of open world games, because just worlds, like there's the world creation and the environmental storytelling, just the world building. There is you're not really talking about like just a small scene or like a thing by itself, but it's like you're literally creating a world where people can get lost in, and I love that. I love working on those things. What were the most mind-blowing click moments in your self-education as an environment artist? Um, Poof, that's a good question. There's a lot of them actually. I think one of the most ridiculous ones all the way in the beginning was I was making a jukebox for school, and it was our first high poly or like our second high poly thing that we needed to make. So I took like a jukebox and we had to make it, just modeled it completely high poly. And I thought that high poly meant that you couldn't create separate meshes. So I tried to model a jukebox without separating any object or any piece from that mesh, and I just made it with like a one high poly mesh, and it was ridiculous. Like it didn't look good, and I think the teachers at that point were just looking at me like, "What is this guy doing? Like why?" So that was a good lesson. Um, and then the second biggest lesson is probably that you don't have to do everything unique. So we talked about this before. This was a question by let's have a look, by Sebastian Bracht. He basically asked how to gain speed creating a full environment. So that's where I come down to using tilables, using trim sheets, using all those kind of things where you don't have to create everything unique. You don't have to go through like the high poly, low poly, baking it down, texturing it. You can just use tilables on things that are not important in the scene. And then focus those efforts on things that you really want to shine. And that's also going to help the composition of the scene in general. Oh, sorry. Because it's yeah, it's just too much work. Say you want to create like an entire world, or like a even on your personal work, just an entire scene. It's just too much work to do it all unique. I think who was it? I think it was Raj, who is here with us as well. I think he pointed out a polycount thread of an artist who was doing an environment with everything unique and everything bespokely modeled textures and everything. It was looking really good, but he's been working on it for like 2 or 3 years, like on and off, of course, but he's still going. Um, those were definitely the biggest clicks. Um, I would say from like a more generic standpoint, I would say just having fun with it. That's probably the biggest thing, and that's still something that I struggle with my previous scene as well when I was working on it, and I wasn't really having fun with it anymore. So I would say if you're in a position, right, because I have a stable job at the moment, I don't have to be worried about doing rushing out portfolio pieces to try to get into the industry. Um, yeah, I I think that's definitely the biggest thing that I discovered recently, where it's like we get all caught up in like all the technical stuff and how to get to the end result. But what does it matter if you don't have fun? Because you can really tell when someone has fun on a project compared to someone who doesn't have fun. Like just by looking at the art, you can already tell like, no, this is someone who just went through it, but he didn't put their heart and soul into it. So that would be like a biggest click moment. And I think with this one, you have to click it multiple times. That's how it at least worked for me. I mean, there's a lot of smaller things as well, like just discovering in Maya when you can You can edit the edge flow with just one button, and I was doing that manually at that point. And it was just like discovering that button. Someone showed it to me, literally one click, and it's like, oh, yeah, yeah, that completely ruined my day basically because I was like, I've been doing this for manually for like a year or two. Yeah, no worries, man. Good question. I love it. Yeah, I can't remember where the hotkey is because I've been using Blender for so long. But it's, I mean, it's not hidden at all. It's super in your face. I just never realized what it did until someone clicked it for me, and I was like, oh, so disappointed. Seems like everyone starts that way. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's just some tricks that you have to like. Even if someone mentions it to you, you just have to learn them by just walking into that wall face first. Oh, thanks for all the questions, guys. I really appreciate it. This is some good stuff. Yeah, I think going back to the questions that we had before, there's still some good stuff that we can get from the feedback. Oh, the feedback is such an interesting thing. All right. If no one has any question anymore, I think it's nice to round this off. Oh, wait, we got Lloyd coming in. Where can... Oh god. Oh no. I mean, it's all in the description below, right? Oh. I appreciate everyone for joining this one though. And I'll announce the next one. I might do this every week. It depends. It depends on how many questions we have. I might just combine this with just working on personal work and then asking questions when they come up. But yeah, I appreciate all of you just joining us for this one. We need more questions from Derek. All right, thanks everyone. I'll catch you in the next one. Yes, this is going up on YouTube as well. I'll just have to clean up the recording a bit, do some edits, and then I'll post it on there as well. No worries. This was awesome. Thanks for taking the time to post questions. Some really good ones in there. I mean, they were all good ones. Like even the ones talking about pineapples and just apples on pizza. Thanks everyone for joining. Catch you in the next one.